What's going on, everyone? It has been a little while since I've done one of these videos. I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago, talking about the top 5 free-to-play tips to help you progress just that little bit faster. We've got quite a few things here that are pretty important that I definitely slept on that really, really will help you out if you happen to get a little bit lucky while also following the game plan. Let's dive straight in and talk about the first one, which is gems, and more specifically, gem slots. So you'll notice here that there are 5 different gem slots. Now, 4 and 5 are going to be a little bit difficult to obtain, mainly because if we look here and I want to get another gem slot, I'm going to need additional copies of that weapon in order to acquire those 4th and 5th gem slots. So it's not really going to be applicable until you get a mythic gear piece, and it's also going to be expensive in terms of resources, but definitely opening up at least the first 3. And then really focusing in on gems is going to be a huge portion of your power in the game. A huge portion of your power in the game. And one of the things that I had not done was utilizing a lot of my ability to reroll. Now, I don't recommend you typically reroll, like everything. But as soon as you're able to, as soon as you get your immortal gems and, potentially peerless or transcendent, you really do want to reroll specific armors or gears, rather. And more specifically, armor, I should say. In here, you have the opportunity to really, really get some very, very important ones for PvE progression. For example, global damage percentage, rage skill damage, but most importantly, combo count increases, which are basically the bread and butter for all of the main builds in the game. Do not sleep on gems. These are going to be a huge, huge way to get you way more value in the game. Next tip we got to talk about has got to be making sure you're taking advantage of all of the long-term regular game modes. What I'm specifically talking about here is Holy Grail War and the martial arts tournament. Now, Holy Grail War is a little bit less important, but both of these have the same kind of thought process, which is every single time they are around, you want to be spending every gem that you have to make sure that you are at least fully betting on every single match. Now, it's not going to require a ton of gems, but these things only come around so often, and you're really going to want to be picking up these limited, not these ones, the Holy Grail Mythic Treasures. These are huge stat increases, especially giving you final skill damage or final combo damage or normal attack damage based on what you're looking for. So that's going to be a huge, huge bonus. But not only that, but even if you already had all that and you already have the advanced stars and whatnot, the gem to conversion of up wish letters or gem keys or secret treasure keys is huge. It is 100% worth your gems, even if you weren't going to go for the Holy Grail Mythic Treasure. The same thing applies for the martial arts tournament. The rewards in this is huge. You need to be spending your gems every single time. Yes, the Divine Weapon Cubes are here. Going to want to get those every single opportunity that you have, but also the S-Epic Legacy boxes, S-Rank Gear, and Weapon boxes. This is a very cheap way to acquire these in terms of gems to these box conversion rates. There's also the Capybara, which is a nice mount, especially in the first upgrade, but also even getting extra stars on it can be huge bonuses as well. This is definitely a huge place to spend your gems. And we've talked about gem expenditure before, but mainly we're talking about like events and things like that. Do not underestimate the martial arts tournament in the Holy Grail War. Missing even a single one of these definitely stalls your progression a ton. We're going to talk about brands, especially if we're talking about free-to-play tips, because brands can be a huge bottleneck, Heroes, less so. Obviously, we've got the Ghost Princess for basically every single build, and the Knight of Then is going to work for every single build. However, brands are much more specified down to each individual build, especially with all the double S variants. And I wanted to really here talk about, if you're a free-to-play player, you really cannot be choosing multiple double S brands to work on at the same time. What you want to do is focus on definitely one double S brand. In some cases, this is going to be minorly modified. Like, for example, the Wild Vulture, the new Brutal Vulture, is worthwhile at like a very low level. But a lot of these double S brands want to be legendary or potentially even mythic to really show their power. Like the White Robe Wizard is something that you really want to be at mythic to really show the power of that. You are totally okay and going to get more value out of investing just a little bit into some of these normal brands and potentially limited brands in a lot of the events. It is worth it. Do not just completely focus on, okay, my end game build for Skysplitter, for example, is going to be the Brutal Vulture. You got the Prince of Sanctuary. and then I want my white robe wizard, and then I want whatever else, the Joker. Don't just be like, oh, well, I'm not even going to really bother upgrading these other brands as such. Really, in a lot of cases, you are totally okay to upgrade those, not only because you can reset them, but also it's going to take you so long to get those double S brands. By the time you get those, the progression that you've gotten from upgrading these other brands is going to give you enough resources back to make it worthwhile. You definitely want to focus on one double S brand for sure, because that's going to be worthwhile, but not your entire build focusing on the end game version of it. Take steps, baby steps. Here's this brand, moving into the next one, moving into the mid game, moving into the end game, etc. On that note, one of the most important free-to-play progression mechanics is making sure you're doing all the tasks in the game. And what I mean by that is literally the tasks. All your dailies and your free upgrades and things like that, or your free resources, you do not want to miss out on this. And this is actually something that I missed out on for a little while because I wasn't paying close enough attention to these updates. But for example, if we go into the brands menu here, the heroes menu, and you go to the limited up, there's literally a tasks. Literally every 2 weeks this resets and you get a ton of free upwish letters. I probably missed out on like 100 of these because I wasn't doing it every single time. This is going to be really important. This applies to everything, right? Making sure that you're going through and doing all your tasks for the day and getting your 2 alchemy regions and your gems and your alchemy regions for the month and getting your free energy. Making sure you're doing your time growth, so your events on time. Making sure you're doing your events that come around, like the magic celebration that's going to be here very, very shortly. All of those, making sure you're just participating in the game, more so than anything realistically, is going to give you more progression than anything I could even offer in this video. Just playing the game, who knew? But making sure you're playing the game and claiming the rewards as well. In some cases, people don't even know they exist. Now, this last one is something I'm definitely guilty of, partially because I don't have enough time to sit through these battles in some cases, and partially because I didn't realize the value until much later on. But when you're doing your normal chapter is definitely worthwhile. It's going to give you, gold. It's going to give you the inheritance books, which is something that's super important. So you definitely want to focus in on normal mode for a long, long time. However, don't neglect hard mode, okay? I like to do, what I recommend is like an 80-20 split. Like 80% of your energy, especially in the early to mid game, should be going to your normal modes. About 20% of your energy should be going to the hard mode, so you can still progress those nodes. But then as you get later and later, your books become less important, because while you do want to have books to progress your brand upgrades are going to take longer in between them, and your overall inheritance progression is going to take longer, and you're going to be splitting it up across multiple different books. You're not going to be hard focusing on one of them. And so the amount of critical mass of books is going to be less important. So when you're doing the hard mode, you're going to get so many more resources for your specialization, which is going to overall increase your stats way more than anything the normal mode would do, by giving you a little bit extra gold or a little bit extra of specialized inheritance books. It is very important that you really, really hammer home that hard mode when you get later on in the game, but don't neglect it at any point in the game. Those are some free-to-play tips for you guys. I know they're not too crazy, but they're definitely going to help you out, especially the gems, and especially playing the game. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you off the next one.